Happy Monday. Welcome to today's Motivational Mondays. I do these every week. I'll put a link up there for the playlist of the videos that I've made so far. Anyway, today's motivational message is to just be yourself, which in and of itself is really simple. The greatest contribution that you could make with your art, with your actions, is to just be you, because there is only one of you that has ever and will ever exist, with all of your experiences, good and bad, and only you can create the art that is necessary for the world. And I mean this because, contrary to popular belief or how the art world puts it, there is a sector, there is a need for your type of art somewhere. Maybe it's not as visible, maybe it's not as popular, but if you think about it, all of the great artists started out being not very popular. And an example of this would be Monet or Van Gogh. Monet didn't start out being super famous. He was part of the Fauvism, I think it was, and people thought that his art was scandalous and that it was just completely offensive for the times. And later he became the leader of a movement known as the Impressionists. And I bring him up because he's a motivation to me even now, because his art wasn't popular. Not while he was living, at least not at the beginning. And he only became famous because a whole bunch of other artists became motivated and inspired by what he was doing, and he wasn't doing anything other than being himself. And Van Gogh is another one. Although he got his fame after death, and hopefully none of us will have to wait that long, but his genius wasn't recognized during his time. Picasso would be another one, and so many others. And I mean that truly, because it's the only and biggest contribution you can make is believing in yourself, is believing in what you can offer. And believe me, there is something that you can offer. We all have experiences that make us unique to who we are, and backgrounds that bring forth our own set of baggage, but contribution of the way that we look at life. Like for me, I came here as an immigrant with my family 26 years ago. I was a little kid. But if you ask me and the people that have had to move, to live, to uproot their lives completely to a different country, to a different culture, to a different language, because yes, English is my second language, it just brings so many other beautiful things. You get to live a part of two cultures or more. I had the privilege of being able to experience so many different cultures, from my friends, from my family, from my surroundings. You know, you learn about different people's foods and customs, and that's what inspired me to do what I do, which is explore my own background, which I didn't have the opportunity to grow up with. Like many of you, it wasn't something that was ingrained in me. My parents weren't very, oh, this is Ecuadorian, we have to do this, we only do this, or it's not a lack of pride in your beliefs, it's a lack of attachment to thinking. And it's not a bad thing. I think it's a very good thing to not be closed off from your own beliefs and be able to experience and to enjoy other people's backgrounds. And that's what I do with my art. I experience my own background, which I wasn't taught in my schools, and I wasn't taught in anywhere. You know, I had to grow up, choose this as my career, get hired as a photographer to document these indigenous rituals of harvest, and that brought me to discovering myself and discovering my ancestors and discovering a background that I had no idea was there. And I'm still discovering it, you know, 10 years later, and it's just like I've hit a little bit. And that's even more than a lot of people get to do, because I had the opportunity to have my dad be a musicologist, with a researcher in music theory and music cultures. And I've learned a lot from him, but it's still like one bit. And we all have that one little nugget of gold in our own backgrounds, which can be turned into gold. And you know, we can also, and I've seen this a lot, I don't particularly like it, but I've seen a lot of people get stuck and use the bad things or the tragedies that have made up their lives and have that be part of their motivator or identifier. But life is so much more than what happened to you. And I say that with experience, and I'm not gonna talk about this, but if you guys are interested, I will put a little date over here of a video that I did at the beginning of the pandemic about a very hard time in my life, but that really transformed me into choosing art. It was only one of the motivators, not the whole story, like I said, because a lot of the story of why I do what I do is because art, and like I've said, it's a part of experiencing life. It's a part of recording life, and you don't have to focus on the negative. In fact, I urge you to not focus on the negatives. The tragedies in your life, well, maybe they got you to be extra focused on art, but don't let that negative overtake the power of all the positive that has happened after. And it's a thing that happens every day. We all have little setbacks in our lives, in our weeks, in our days. But if we let those little setbacks repeat themselves and we keep thinking about them and we keep letting them fester, it won't take us anywhere. So anyway, I urge you to look at that thing that makes you you, that makes you the very only you that will ever exist. And I promise you there's something. There is for all of us, if you decided that art was something that you liked. And this means in any discipline of art that can include music, dance, film, illustration, animation, theater, because I've been lucky in that too. I've had family members that have followed all of those careers. And I have a lot of family, so you know, it comes as that. But there are so many ways that we can experience and share our gifts with the world, and I suggest that you find it. If you haven't found it yet, ask yourself, what was the thing that like lit up your world when you were a kid? And I promise you it was something you didn't think was gonna go anywhere, or that people stopped taking you seriously for if you said it afterwards. But I know that, like, for me at least, it was always art. There were other things that I may have been interested a little bit, you know, like, and I do them today, so it's not like I don't do them. You know, there were other things. There was like writing, poetry, singing I don't do publicly. But you know, the musical background and all. And if you guys want to check out 10 random facts about me. I talk about all of the random things in my life that are important, and you guys getting to know me a little bit more. And maybe I didn't choose those other paths for whatever reason. It wasn't like, oh, I had somebody telling me, no, don't do this. I had the fortune to not have that in my family because my dad always encouraged me, and he comes from a very big artistic family where my uncles and my grandfather and at least one of my uncles made a successful career out of music and still does. It's just finding and exploring that. And now I'm doing video. I mean, this 5 years ago or even 3 years ago was not something within my plan of exploration, because I was the biggest camera shy person on the planet. Well, maybe not the biggest, but you know, standing in front of a camera wasn't something that I saw myself doing. But regardless, you know, life will throw you things and you have to adapt, and you have to look at how you're gonna get your message out there. So anyway, I know there's something out there for you. There's something that you can contribute with your art. Don't forget it. If you haven't found it, go out and look for it. And if you need any help, just write your comments down. If you guys want me to do a video on how to look for that, I could do that too. I do that constantly, by the way. Well, at least I look for new projects and stuff, and I have a process to do it. So anyway, hope you guys have a great rest of your week. Don't forget, the best thing you could do is to be yourself, and take care.